Hey, my name is Barbie Armenta. I'm a wife, mother, life coach, and founder of Brave One. Everyone has a story, and I believe that you can be inspired in your own life by hearing another woman's courageous story. We're here to talk about purpose, identity, divorce, splitting families. If you're talking about it, I want to talk about it. We are here to have brave conversations. Welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited. I cannot believe it is already episode 5. And today I'm really excited because today's guest is me. I'm going to be joined today by someone who's actually been here for every episode. She is our co-producer behind the scenes doing all the things. She is the fabulous Jenn Pfahlert. Thank you so much for being on the mic today.
Hi, Barbie. It's really great to join you. Hello, everybody. My name is Jenn Pfahlert, and I am one half of Silent Stream Media, which is a video production agency that my husband and I run here in Fort Worth, Texas and beyond. But we do more than just video. We do things like podcasts, live events, and lots of other types of content creation with a marketing twist. And it's been such a pleasure to be able to work with you and with Brave One. So today's episode is going to be about the Brave Gathering. We want to talk about the history behind it, how you got it all started, where it is now, and let's look into the future and see what's in store as well. So Barbie, let's talk about the Brave Gathering, how it got started, the history behind it, where it is today, and where it's going. We'll give everyone a little bit of a sneak peek behind the curtain. But yeah, tell me, how did you start Brave Gathering?
Well, I cannot believe it's 5 years. This is our 5th year for the Brave Gathering. And it did not, I had no plans really to start an event. I kind of had this thought in my head, but I didn't think I would actually do it. You know, talk about putting your brave on. That was this. But when I was in my 20s, I didn't grow up in church. And so I always had this feeling that maybe I had to be perfect or I wasn't good enough to even be a Christian, even though I knew the Lord, but I just didn't know enough. I just had this blind faith. But I attended a conference. This woman had invited me to go to a Women of Faith conference. This is a huge women's event in an arena.
Yeah.
And the women were just telling their real stories, and they had real struggles. And I was like, wow, these are just real women telling real stories. And if they can be here, then maybe I can too. And it just really changed my life and just opened my eyes to just a lot of possibilities. And kind of secretly always thought it'd be really cool to speak with them. At that point in my life, I was in an abusive marriage, which you may have heard about in episode 1. But just, so I had no reason. I had no story. I had nothing to say. Is what I felt, because I wasn't in that place yet. I didn't have the happy ending to tell about.
I feel like a lot of people kind of live through that as well. They feel like because of where they're at in life or how they feel about where they're at in life, that they aren't qualified to share what they're going through or what their story is or what their dreams are.
Mm-hmm. We count ourselves out.
Yeah.
And so years later, I found out they were having their farewell tour. And I was very sad. And I was like, well, that dream's over. Oh. And, this is 20 years had passed. And I was no longer in that marriage. And I was walking with God. I was actually on staff at a church. And I shared an office with one of my very best friends. And I was like, well, I guess we'll have to start our own event. And I did not believe that in the moment, but she will tell you now that she believed it the moment I said it.
Oh, wow.
And, we all need friends like that.
Yeah.
That will believe in our dreams more than we do, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that's kind of the background. But,
So when you thought to yourself, I guess I have to just create my own event then. Had you already started Brave One at that point? Were you already coaching?
I was on staff at a church, and we kind of had the idea that I was going to write a book. And so we had that kind of in the back of our mind. And I ended up taking a job back in I worked in the beauty industry for 30 years. So I went back into the beauty industry thinking this will be a little slower pace than, at church. Working at a church that size, it's very much your 7 days a week kind of a thing, which was amazing while I was there. But I felt like with the schedule I would have at a salon that I could have a little more time to write the book.
And the book is The Right Combination?
Yes.
Yes.
So I took this job. I was there for 3 months and then I was laid off.
Oh.
Never laid off from a job before. And I was pretty devastated, but also sometimes God will pull the rug out from under you to get you where he wants you to go.
That's so true.
Because 3 years prior to that, I had heard about life coaching. And I was like, that sounds like exactly what I was created to do. And instead of getting a job, my husband and I made a decision that I would go to school to be a coach.
Wow.
That was a big step of faith because we gave up my whole income.
Well, and plus the time frame that you're talking about right now, like, yes, today there are so many coaches, different types of coaches out there that are coaching people through life. But back when you had that idea, it was still pretty fresh and new, I would assume. Not a lot of people probably had heard about or thought, I need a life coach, unless you're like a multi-millionaire and you have like so many things going on in your life. You're like, I need someone to manage my life. I think that concept probably was quite foreign.
It was. What I loved about it is coaching is all about looking forward. And I will cheer you on all day. Like, I love that. And so with coaching, the difference between coaching and counseling is counseling, you're looking back. You have past hurts. Maybe you went through something. When I went through my divorce, I went to a counselor. But coaching is more looking at where you are today, where you want to be, and coaching to that gap.
I really like that distinction. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that was really helpful for me. And I love that because I'm working with people that are in a good place, but they just have dreams and they want to move forward. And I'm a big dreamer, so I will encourage you in your dreams all day and also challenge you where needed.
Yeah.
So that went to school and just thought I would be a life coach. I didn't really know. I actually went and talked to a man that I had worked for that he owns salons in Dallas, but also had a ministry. So I got to be exposed to both, but I was like, can this really be a thing? I mean, can I be a coach and a speaker? Is this a real job? Yeah. And he was like, the first thing you got to do is make yourself real.
Yeah.
And he said, you need to make a website. I made a website. It was not the nicest website you've ever seen. It has evolved, but I did. And I started blogging and trying to find my voice and just figure it out. And that was a really great decision, on great advice and that I took.
Yeah, definitely.
Just to get started.
Sometimes it's just that in order for you to actualize a dream and turn it into something real, you just got to take that first step, whether it's a website or a business card or, changing your title on LinkedIn to whatever it is that you want to do, right?
Yes. And then we have imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And I think so many of us go through that. It's like, oh, suddenly I'm a coach. Suddenly I'm a speaker. Even though I went to school, it's like it's a whole identity shift. When I had been in one career for most of my life, really from the time I was 16, and then to be moving into this new thing and something like you said, it was new, so people didn't understand.
Yeah.
And, I know that there were questions of, well, when are you going to get a job? It's like, well, this is my job. This is it. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah. Did you find that it was challenging, or did you feel that maybe you had a lot more of that imposter syndrome or sort of barriers or blockages within yourself because you were making this shift later in your life?
That is one thing I would definitely encourage anyone with. I was 47 when I went to school to be a coach.
Wow.
And I was asked why I would do it at that stage. And I was like, well, I'm going to turn 50 either way. I might as well be doing something I love.
Yeah.
And actually, my mother-in-law asked me one time, she was like, do you enjoy what you do? And I said, I feel like I'm doing what I was created to do.
Oh.
That's how what I do today feels. And that's what I would encourage anyone that is listening. If you have this dream in your heart, it's like, we get this one shot,
Yeah.
go for it.
And you know what? I think when you are really stepping into your purpose and doing something that you truly, truly love every day, I mean, that just makes you more youthful too.
Yes.
Like I would not look at you today and think, man, that lady's, over 50 years old. Like, it's really preserved your youth.
Thank you. I really believe that there's so much to that. I think, retirement's not in the Bible.
Yeah.
Only opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're doing something we love, it's like, I'm not just dreading Monday. I look forward to Monday.
Yes. Same. I love Mondays.
Yes.
So that's how you sort of got started in the coaching aspect. So how did then that turn into an event, a gathering, a conference?
Well, the word brave had started to become a thing because God had given me an acrostic that I have shared before, but I'll share with you quickly what that acrostic was. And that was just lessons that I had learned through the years, post-divorce, the dating years, meeting my now husband. But the B stands for beautiful, which is really about our identity in Christ and how we're wonderfully made. The R is for restored, because no matter where we are or what we've been through, God's in the business of redeeming and restoring our lives. The A is for authenticity, because we are made perfectly on purpose. There's no comparison. The V is for vulnerability, because we have a desire to be seen and known and loved, but that feels like risk. But the E is for empowered, because we've been empowered by the Holy Spirit to have and be all that He has created us for. And so that is where brave came from.
That's really great.
I had this vision for something with an event with real women sharing real stories like I had experienced with Women of Faith. And the Brave Gathering was what had come to mind. Gather means to bring together from scattered places. And that's what I wanted to do, was just, women, whether they were in the church, not in the church, knew the Lord, didn't know the Lord. I just wanted all women to be able to come together. Mm-hmm. So I contacted 4 of my friends on a Sunday night, and I said, hey, can you join me tomorrow night at this coffee house? I just want to share something with you. And they all said yes. And, with busy schedules, the fact they all said yes and were able to come. And I share with them the vision, and they all said yes to that too. Wow. And I kept trying to talk them out of it.
That's your imposter syndrome right there.
I was like, well, someone already has something that's a brave gathering, and it was totally different. And they were like, what if you're the brave gathering? And so they just kept encouraging. And within a few months, we had put all the pieces together.
Wow.
It was really amazing. We had all worked together at a church where we had worked on events. So we had a little bit of knowledge. We weren't going in completely blind, but we had never done this. And we did it at a small studio in Addison, Texas. There was 55 people maybe.
Yeah.
It was small, and we had a donut wall.
Oh, everybody loves
everyone
donuts.
Needs a donut wall at their event. We had T-shirts. They weren't the best, but we had T-shirts. We had music. Actually, my daughter-in-law sang. Everything we needed was 1 degree away. Mm-hmm. And God just brought it together in this beautiful way. And we did it a Friday night, Saturday morning, and people just showed up and heard just these amazing stories. And we were just so blessed. And my husband's like, this is an annual event.
Yes.
And I'm like, yes, it is. And then we did it again. And we did it same place, same concept, no donut wall. We did mix it up a little bit. And also we started for the first year giving bracelets. Mm-hmm. When you check in, you get a bracelet and it says Brave. Uh-huh. And then people were like, how do we get a Brave bracelet? And I'm like, oh, we're doing it again. So each year we've had a different color. Mm-hmm. And it's just become a thing. And it's so much fun to see women posting their pictures, wearing their Brave bracelets, because I want people to look at them. I don't want this to just be an event you come to and oh, that was fun, and you leave. I'm a coach. I want you to be challenged. I want
Yes.
you to take away some tools and use that in your life. And so having the bracelets be something people were wearing and remembering things they heard, that was really special.
Yeah, that's really great. I love that you give everybody something tangible that can be a reminder to them in their daily life. That's really powerful, I think, because it's those little things, those little reminders every day that can help and turn your day around.
Yes. So year 3 was 2020.
Oh man.
So we planned it again for April. We had moved it to Fort Worth. It was going to be in a church in Fort Worth, and we canceled. We went, I remember just those couple of weeks leading up, we were like, what are we doing? Do we have to cancel? Do we want to cancel? And finally just having to make that hard decision. And I told God I wasn't going virtual. And he said, yes, you are.
Oh.
So he really just opened a door really wide. And we were really blessed by our church that they had already had equipment set up because they were streaming.
Uh-huh.
And so we were able to kind of step in and utilize the same things. And that was huge. We couldn't have done it without them.
Yeah.
And so we went virtual. It was good. We went to 10 states and 2 countries.
Wow.
So that was
You
really
went international
fun. We did.
For year 3. Okay.
We did. And so that was super exciting. I mean, those stories were still impactful. The quality of we needed you back then. You and Dave could have really up-leveled that moment, but it was good. And we still made it happen. And I know that, lives were still changed.
Yeah.
By the stories that were heard.
Now, were you bringing on speakers? Because you mentioned earlier in today's episode that, you had been that person in the crowd listening at the events, yearning to be a speaker. What kind of speakers were you bringing on with your gathering?
I want to talk about the things they're talking about.
Uh-huh.
So I had people from all different backgrounds. We've covered topics of abortion, blending families, marriage, miscarriage, difficulty getting pregnant, empty nesters. Like we want to bring people in that can cover a wide array of topics so that when women are there, they can hear something that they connect with. And so I was really blessed to know a lot of amazing speakers. And so, of course, that's where you start.
For sure.
And so then year 4 was held in the same church, and we did virtual and in person. So still smaller numbers. We had people going both, but we had a speaker out with COVID.
Yeah.
It was still kind of a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah, it was a challenge. Did you find that that ladies were excited to come back to a real event versus virtual? How did you find that distinction?
To some degree. But then even in the last minute, we even made masks with Brave on the front of them. So if someone felt more comfortable, we were, taking all the precautions and doing all the things. But it was still just so much uncertainty that what we found was even people that had bought tickets decided to go virtual.
Oh.
And so it was different. But what wasn't different, what was the same is that we had powerful stories being shared. And, I'm so grateful to the women that were able to still share.
Yeah.
And then the one that missed it because she had COVID, she's coming this year.
Yay.
So, yeah. So I really wanted her story to be heard. And I'm so grateful that this year she's going to get to come back.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you get feedback from event goers post-event? Do they give you any kind of testimonies or tell you what they were able to glean from coming to a Brave gathering?
I do. I've had so many women reach out to me, and I had one woman, she goes, this might be overstating, but this really changed my life.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And no, not overstating. I feel that way when I'm listening to the other speakers that are there and just how impactful you feel it in the moment. And so when you get to have those times when people do come up and say, oh, when Sherry said this, or Sarah, or whoever was speaking in the moment, just being able to hear those things and get that feedback it's pretty special.
Yeah. So I know that you have some plans coming up leading from this fifth event, this next Brave Gathering, that kind of ties into that idea of people sharing afterwards.
Yes, we do.
Before we get into that, though, let's talk about this year, because this year is
Okay.
kind of pivotal.
Yes.
Year 5 of the Brave Gathering. Give us a little sneak peek on what people can expect from this event. What's different? How is it different for you putting on an event this year?
This year, it's bigger. We're going big. We're going all in. And we are going to be at the Ridgely Theater in Fort Worth, Texas. And it's just the cutest historic theater, and that we get to kind of step into its story of all the things that have been there in the past. But our theme is revival. And as we talked about 2020 and even 2021 and just all that we've been through, people have gone through divorce, job loss, lost loved ones. And I feel like this is just revival was right on time for this year, because as we're coming out of that it's a fresh start and a new beginning. And so that's sort of, as we were going into this year, that's how I feel. It's like I feel like this momentum and this building of just the excitement and the speakers, the what you and Dave have done with production. Everyone's going to love it. The videos, the brave stories. My heart is to get more women's stories out into the world.
Yeah.
Because I know that when we hear another woman's story, then we know that we're not alone and that another woman has paved that road. And so this year we have speakers talking on so many different subjects. Patty, who missed last year, she is she's certified in conversational intelligence.
Wow.
And she's going to talk about conversations with our adult children.
Oh.
And has written a book on that. And that's amazing. I have 4 adult children, so I love that. And then we have Stacey Danford, that is a neuroscientist, the cutest neuroscientist. You will actually hear from her in episode 6. So look for that. But also, you don't want to miss her at the Brave Gathering, what she talks about and how she correlates scripture and science together, and why we think the way we do and how we can change those patterns. You don't want to miss that. We have Sherry Horton, who has been with us for every Brave Gathering, and she is going to be talking about the Proverbs 31 woman and how she's different from Deborah, who's a warrior in the Bible. So yeah, so many good things. But on top of that, we're going to have amazing worship music from Elizabeth Clark Coverman. She has written us a song. She's been in the studio recording, so you're going to get some of that.
Wow.
The other thing that I want to focus on is community. And I've always wanted that, and I have a hard time creating that when we're at this one-time event and then you go home.
Yeah.
And the coach in me cannot allow this.
No.
I want to give you tools.
Yes. There needs to be a follow-up.
Yes. So I had created an online community that I love on Facebook, and it's great, but I want people interacting with each other. And what I realize is social media is not real connection. So we need to connect in person. So we're going to have the Brave Gathering, but then after that, we're going to be launching Brave community groups. And so much more information to come on that. But we are going to have local groups that you'll be able to lead yourself or attend with others. They're going to be open to everyone. I want everyone to feel welcome. And I'll be giving more information on what those groups will actually look like, what you'll be doing. But just know that it's a great opportunity. You know, I realized once you get out of those years where your kids are in sports and things, and so you have your friends or your kids' parents, you know?
Yeah.
And then how do you meet people as an adult? And now we're all working from home.
Yeah.
So where do you get that connection?
Yeah.
So 100%. I want to
100%.
create that.
Yeah. I can definitely relate to some of that as well, just in the sense that, especially when you're in that headspace of constantly growing and, self-examining, but also just becoming aware of how your life is changing. And then you kind of prioritize differently, you become a different person in certain aspects. Not that you become intrinsically a different person, but just, like you said, you start having different life experiences, and it sometimes can be a struggle to find other people who can relate to that if your friend circle or your network has been, circle A. Mm-hmm. And now you're kind of transitioning into circle B, and you're like, how do I find somebody that can understand what I'm going through and someone I can talk to and lean on a little bit, but also I can be a support too. I think that's really great that you're starting these community groups.
Thank you. And that was such a good point, because I think when we go through transitions in life, whether it's a career change and you're not with those same work people, or divorce or blending families, it's your community changes or it goes away.
Yeah.
And I hear so often women struggling to find that. And so I'm really excited to see how this all goes. I think it's going to be amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I think this year, Revival, Brave Gathering 2022 is really going to be a Kickstarter to what's to come for Brave One, but also just for all of your Brave community. All these ladies coming together, and they'll really have something special to look forward to, something to take home with them and, continue to work with. And, there's a lot of expectancy for sure.
Yes, I'm really excited.
So I hear that you have a special gift today, Barbie, for everyone who's listening in on today's episode.
Yes, when this airs, we will have ended our early bird pricing. But it is not going to be too late for you. But because you're a podcast listener and part of this community, I want to offer a special promo code just for listening. So the promo code will be Brave1. So Brave, the number 1. You will put that in as your promo code, and you will receive a discount and receive the early bird pricing. So I cannot wait to see you there. So I hope that you'll get your ticket.
So for everyone out there who just heard this promo code, make sure you go to braveone.net/gather, get your tickets, use this promo code. We definitely want to see all of you in those seats. Well, Barbie, this was so fun. It was so great to hear the history behind Brave One and the Brave Gathering. It's incredible how you've turned that small mustard seed into this big old mustard tree now, moving into such amazing things and creating truly a powerful, brave community. Thank you so much for sharing that story with us.
Thank you so much for being on this side of the mic this week and for being here all the other weeks. I'm so grateful for all your support.
That's it for today's episode. I think everyone is going to be super excited to see you in person at this year's Brave Gathering. We look forward to it as well. It's going to be a fantastic event full of fun, connection, some treats, bracelets, all the things. Thanks for having me, and we'll see everybody on the next episode.
Thanks for joining me for today's conversation. If this resonated with you, please save this podcast to your playlist and share it with your friends. If there's a conversation that you want to hear, make sure and reach out at braveone.net and send a topic request. Until our next episode, remember to put your brave on.